Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we are delving into the kind of clickbaity topic of this video, which is the secret of how to be a productive PhD student. Given the name of my channel, you would think that I had already covered this, but you know, better late than never. We'll be going through what even is productivity, what is the secret to being a productive PhD student, and how can we as PhD students be more productive. We live in a culture that is totally obsessed with productivity, while at the same time basically everything around us is specifically designed to distract us and occupy our attention. We watch countless videos telling us how we can be more productive, what morning routines and rituals will boost productivity, but we don't even really think about what does it actually mean to be productive. So what is productivity? First, I want you to really think about what productivity means to you. Productivity is the state or quality of being productive, or the effectiveness of productive effort measured in terms of rate of output per unit of input. And specifically, productive means producing or able to produce large amounts of goods, crops, or other commodities. As the name suggests, it's about producing things, but in particular producing large amounts of output from very small input. So how does this relate to the productivity of a PhD student? Figuring out what the input to our PhD is probably the easiest. It's our time, our energy, our social lives, our happiness. Just kidding. But mostly it is our time. At the first element of our definition, we have to keep in mind that we want to develop whatever output it is with as little of our input or our time as possible if we want to be productive. And I think a lot of people nowadays would describe productivity as just trying to make the best use of our time so that we have as much time as possible to do the things that we really want to do and live happy, healthy lives. What do you think the output of a PhD is? I would very much encourage you to leave in the comments below a little something what you think the output of a PhD is. If you said academic papers, publications, results, or your PhD thesis, I hate to break it to you, but you're wrong. The secret to being a productive PhD student is understanding that the output of your PhD is not your publication record, not your H-index, or even your scientific contribution. The output of your PhD is you. The definition of a PhD is a weird one because it simultaneously describes the degree and the degree holder. And unlike, Master of Science, we don't typically call people Master of Science, but people would describe themselves as a Doctor of Philosophy, and you can technically afterwards call yourself a PhD. When someone goes to medical school, they don't describe themselves as doing a medical degree because they're not learning for the sole purpose of passing those exams. They're training to become a doctor. Granted, the courses and exams and placements and everything are kind of building blocks to get them there, but the same thing applies to you doing your PhD. You're training to become a Doctor of Philosophy, and the PhD program is designed to get you there. The results, publications, all of that, the thesis, they're all part of what's designed to get you to being a Doctor of Philosophy. But it's important to remember that they're only part of the journey. Throughout your PhD program, there are so many transferable skills that you learn that contribute to your full formation as an independent researcher. And honestly, a lot of these contribute to your employability, but also your ability to be an outstanding person in a lot of ways. Those skills are research skills, so that'll be everything to do with how to solve a problem, analyze literature, analyze results, ethics, integrity, health and safety, critical thinking, becoming the independent researcher, working on funding proposals, grant proposals. That is the sort of first one, and that's the one that a lot of people think of when they think of what we're actually doing in the process of becoming a PhD. If you were to just focus on that one skill, let's say you worked on it so hard, your research skills, that you got up to be like the top 1% of people skilled in research skills, if that makes sense. If we have 1 million PhD students, that means that there are 10,000 researchers that have the same qualifications as you in terms of being top 1% in that one skill. However, if you focused, less time on research skills, and let's say you're just happy to be in the top 10% of candidates for research skills, and you decided, okay, I'm going to spend some of that time that could have been spent getting me into the 1% by getting me into the top 10% for other skills. Let's say 5 other skills. So you now have 6 skills that you're in the top 10% for. If you have 1 million PhD students, you are going to be the only one who's in the top 10% for all of those skills. Something to think about. You're 1 in a million, baby, compared to 10,000 in a million. That's a serious difference. So those other skills are project management and productivity, collaboration, interpersonal skills, leadership, teaching, academic writing, public speaking, media skills, programming, statistics, entrepreneurship and innovation, and career management. If you're not sure how those relate to doing a PhD, I do have a video about how these 10 transferable skills are built up during a PhD, and even though that video is a bit awkward and I made it very early on, I still think it's a good video with good messaging. But if you think I should need to make a new version of that, just let me know. Now that we know what it means to be a productive PhD student, it's now basically to think about how can we develop these skills using minimal time and effort. So firstly, we do need to figure out what it is we're actually working on. That'll all come down to the sort of goal setting and task management work that I've been talking about for the last couple of videos. So I won't be going into that in too much detail, but I will have down below the full playlist going through all of that. Basically, it's the idea of if we want to do something like write our thesis, we need to break that down into smaller goals. So for example, write the literature review or conduct the literature review, which might take about 12 weeks. Then we need to figure out what are the actual action steps we need to do with regards to that. You can see how I have all of my current projects and actions laid out here, and I recently made a full video talking about all of that, so I'll have that linked down below. Working on a difficult task or something that is building a skill requires a type of focused work called deep work. In case you haven't heard of it before, it's part of the book Deep Work by Cal Newport. It basically means working in a distraction-free setting, focusing all of your attention on the task at hand for typically about 3 or 4 hours. If you aren't used to this, you can start to work dedicatedly for shorter intervals of 15 to 30 minutes with breaks in between to build up your tolerance. If you get easily distracted by your surroundings, you can limit distractions by putting your phone on Do Not Disturb, closing unnecessary tabs, putting on noise-cancelling headphones, even asking people around you not to disturb you. If that fails, work when other people aren't around, in the early mornings or the evenings, whatever you need to do. And if you get distracted by your thoughts, then you can definitely keep a brain dump notepad nearby and purge as needed. The majority of the work that we're doing during our PhD programs, skill building and, hard things, all of the kind of work that requires deep work, our brains can typically handle 3 or 4 hours of deep work a day. But I have found that when I split up my day into 2 sort of deep work blocks that are very different, so for example, one thing working on something fun like creating a video and one thing working on something more brain heavy or teaching versus programming, this can really help to still allow me to do deep focused work in both of those blocks. On the other hand, we have shallow work, which is the distracted, typically administrative work that usually provides less value, and we want to limit it as much as possible. However, we do want to leave some space in our calendars for dealing with these types of tasks, otherwise they'll start to overwhelm us and we won't be able to focus on our deep work. When I structure my days, I typically put in the non-negotiable appointments or meetings, and then I add on top of that deep work blocks in the spaces in between. I typically add 1 or 2 admin hours a day to clear through some of my less focused to-do lists. The last step will be adding in some time for recreational and personal care. And a quick disclaimer just to say I'm not encouraging the idea of defining ourselves wholly based on our PhD work. Alex Sujung Kim Pang, who's the author of Rest, says if we define ourselves by our work, when we cease to work, we cease to exist, which is quite spooky. But basically I'm saying we shouldn't be defining ourselves as the output of our PhD. When we're saying that we're dedicating a certain number of hours per week to our PhD, what I'm saying is the output is more than just our thesis. It's also working on ourselves. We also want to be aware that ourselves are more than our PhD. Hope that makes sense. People often feel very guilty about taking time for recreational and personal care during their PhD. To me, this time is just mental recovery. Nobody looks at award-winning athletes who take physical recovery and think that that's a lazy person. It's pretty much the same thing. And there are a number of lifestyle choices that we can make to ensure we stay in good physical and mental health, both of which are vital for ensuring that the product of our PhDs, i.e. ourselves, are in good nick and can continue to do the work that we need to do our PhDs. Some of those are exercising, eating a balanced diet, spending time in nature, having a deep hobby, draining sources of anxiety or feelings of worthlessness, i.e. social media, for example, having a few close personal relationships and spending quality time with those people, practicing gratitude, self-compassion and congratulations, volunteering or doing good things for others. So as you can see, in my schedule, I've included time for friends, my family, partner, personal care and fun, and it's recommended that we take a breakout block within normal afternoons. So I usually do that on a Friday, just to do something fun. I hope you found this video helpful and enjoyed it. I'm actually working on an ebook at the moment that's going to distill a lot of these concepts in quite a deep, more actionable way. And it is available at the moment for pre-order, so check the link in the description if that is of interest to you, and you'll get it at a discounted price, or you can sign up to my email list and get a discount code if this is after the point that it is available. If you made it this far, maybe think about subscribing, and while you're down there, give this video a thumbs up, leave me a comment. Honestly, you've no idea how much that helps, so I would appreciate it. And yeah, thanks for watching, thanks to all of my wonderful members, and I'll see you all in the next video.